But we're all about standards and values here at Smacking Off.
I'm the great smack talker on the fucking face of the earth right now.
You're just jealous of my shine.
Dane's in there tripping on acid, man. This is going to be a great episode.
I try to do my part, guys. SEC player of the year, bro. Come on, that's like being the smartest kid in your special ed class. Don't even nobody take that seriously.
Are you pooping?
I believe that's what they call
You're
it.
pooping. I don't hear pee sounds, dude. You're making...
Because I would beat your goddamn brains out.
No, USC is far better than Oklahoma historically.
Don't be ridiculous right now.
You fucking talking.
What the fuck are you saying about the SEC, bro?
Dude, whatever you're smoking, buy a ton of it.
Meatloaf is moist as my pussy gets. I probably should have.
Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still going to have it.
Smacking off the podcast.
Bro, I'm gonna be a SoundCloud rapper, bro.
That is the best thing you've ever said on this show. And greetings. Welcome to Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my producer and co-host.
Doing good.
What up? I didn't even ask you how you're doing yet.
Yeah, but you were going to.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know my routine. Yeah, we got a great show tonight.
We've done this over 50 times now.
Yeah. Well, this is what, 50... What is this?
51, I believe.
Yeah. Was the last episode number 50? We should have had a cake or something.
We really should have.
You know,
I could at least brought some moon pies in.
well, we didn't have any money in the discretionary fund for moon.
No, there was nothing there. I shook it. It sounded like mainly pennies.
Yeah, I think I did put $1 in there once. Now I got it out. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got a great show. We all sorts of stuff to talk about this week.
Mm-hmm. Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Kentucky is one of the biggest stories of the week.
That is definitely one of the biggest stories in the SEC this year, I think. They broke their, how many years now? 31?
They've actually got a shirt for this now. The shirt says on it, nobody beats us 32 times in a row.
Yeah. And they're right. Shirt. 31-year streak broken. That's amazing. It really is. And again, we've talked a lot in the offseason about Kentucky and about this particular Kentucky team who is armed with arguably maybe the best running back in the SEC. We'll see as the season progresses.
He looks damn good.
Looks damn good. It's Benny Snell Jr. and everybody else on Kentucky these days.
Yep.
But they actually played a little bit of defense too, so they definitely handled business against the Florida Gators.
Mm-hmm. We got lifelong Kentucky fan Robert Arthur coming on.
Yeah, he's going to brag about it for a minute. And because, again, he was the cheerleader in the offseason quite a bit for this Kentucky team.
Last week, he was saying Kentucky's going to win this game. Of course, he says that every year.
Yes.
But this year he was right.
Yeah. What is that? A broken clock is right twice a day or something like that?
Broken clock is right one time out of 32.
Yeah. Yeah. We have also got a great conversation coming up about the Auburn LSU game, which is going to be hosted at Jordan-Hare, a very difficult place to play.
Yep, we have a new guest,
brand new guest. Yeah, it's really cool. We got another lady on the show, Shannon. Shannon Russell. Mm-hmm. I wanted to,
and she's coming in to square off with Walter Bryan, who has been on and has been a contributor several times.
Yeah, Walter's good people, and we've also got a special guest in that segment too, Miss Amy Sheffield Welch,
or Juanita Fields, whichever.
Juanita Fields, yeah, whichever you prefer. Mm-hmm. And it seems like we talked about something else. What else?
We did. Tim Bailey's actually coming on to. He's going to pick on the top games.
We always have fun with Tim Bailey on the show, and very informed conversation about the weeks coming up. I made some pretty good picks.
He did.
I enjoyed that.
He did, and his segments always last longer than we plan on them. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking the whole time, there's just no way to get out of it because he's done so much thinking on this, and you're really cutting off information when you cut him off.
He really is one of our more prepared guests that we have on the show.
Absolutely.
I think we need to get him to host a seminar with some of the other people we've had on the show. Not everybody, but some of the people.
Smacking off the seminar?
Yeah, smacking off the seminar.
Okay.
We need to start making some money off this thing. I mean, I got a baby to feed now. That's very important.
Shoes?
Yeah, shoes.
She's not wearing shoes yet, but she will.
Got them diapers. Them diapers are steady.
Are you washing them out like you said you were going to?
No, we're doing the disposable.
Yeah, but you can still scrape them out with a butter knife, and it works.
Shit.
Yeah.
You could have told me this about. You could have told me this about this like 3 months ago.
You can do it.
Shit, I'm doing that tonight.
You can do it. I mean, if things are tight.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to do it in a week.
Now, what about if they just pee?
You don't want to do it in a week of plenty. You want to do it in a week of
a famine.
Yes.
Yeah. What is it? The 7 years of famine and the 7 years of.
In 7 years, you won't be worrying about diapers anymore. It'll be other shit.
Yeah.
Welcome, college football fans, to another weekly installment of
Congratulations, you lost.
And your team sucks donkey balls. This week we look at Scott Frost, Dan Mullen, and Will Muskrat.
We really need to go ahead and talk about, some of these coaches that lost last week.
Yes. Well, shit, there was a lot of coaches who lost last week, but
let's talk about three in particular, three very big losers this week. We have Scott Frost, lost at home to Colorado.
I mean, I think if you're
deflated the Nebraska fans just a little bit because they were really high on Frost coming in to save the day, and we're going to win all the games, and we're going to win most of them. And
they lost their starting quarterback. He got hurt in the game.
True.
I still think at home, you should have enough to beat Colorado. It's not a good start. I mean, is he on the hot seat? No. He's not on the hot seat.
Yeah, he's got to have some time to build the program.
Right, and you know there's going to be the new coach thing, and there's usually losses when a new coach comes in, even if he's doing things right. But it's the worst start you can think of is to lose in his first home game, which, by the way, was their first game because their real first game was supposed to be against Akron last week, and it got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Every time at Lightning's now. Games get canceled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't want the kids getting hit by lightning.
Rubber helmets.
Oh, this is true. You know, they got rubber on their shoes, too.
Absolutely. You got the rubber helmet.
Why isn't there rubber helmets already? I think that should be a thing.
There should. I mean, there are in mental institutions.
Dan Mullen. Yeah, we need to go ahead and talk about that one a little bit more.
He can blame this on Sharkey. You really can.
He can. I mean, but at the same time...
I mean, he's forever going to be an answer to a trivia question now. He is.
Yeah.
He was the coach at Florida when Kentucky finally beat them.
Yeah.
In one of the longest fucking win streaks to ever grace the SEC.
Yeah. Well, you know, and at one point in time, moving from Mississippi State to Florida was a step up. And I really look at this as a sideways move. And I really think
money-wise is not.
Well, no, there's definitely a lot more money at Florida, but, you know, at the same time,
which means more resources in the
prestige of program these days. I mean, you know, and I've said it, and it'll come up in the podcast later, but I mean, Urban Meyer has screwed that program to the ground so bad that I still think it's going to take another 20 years for them to get back to like absolute true relevancy.
Yeah, Florida looked terrible. They did, and really just insult to injury. I mean, they had a shot to possibly win the game toward the end of the game, and they turned the ball over, and then Kentucky actually got them an easy score there at the end. Mm-hmm. Actually, the players did. Nobody thought the play was live. Did you see the last play in that game? Yeah. That was a cool play. It was fitting for Kentucky to get another one right on the board right there as time expired, and breaking a 31-game win streak.
Yeah. And also, I'm a little bit on the fence about this one because of who they were playing. But Will Muschamp over at South Carolina, and they were hosting Georgia at home.
I think the loss is expected, but I don't know. Until I see Muschamp beat a good team, which I've never seen him do it at Florida, at anywhere. And, you know, at Florida, he almost got into the CFP at one year. Mm-hmm. I think they were 11-1. They ended up going to the Sugar Bowl and playing Louisville, and Louisville just beat them like a fucking drum.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just there's something about Muschamp as a head coach rubs me the wrong way. He seems like a good guy, but
Great defensive coordinator.
He does not beat good teams. He just don't.
Yeah.
But they, I mean, if they could have held it within, to a 10-point game, there's no way that Muschamp makes this list this week. But
yeah.
But they got skull fucked in the second half.
Yeah.
What was the score at the half? I don't even know if I seen that score at the half.
You have to forgive me. I was busy watching a few of the other games.
All right. Well, here's the service we're going to do for the podcast listeners. I will put up the score at the half right here. All right. You're looking at it right now.
Excellent.
All right. Let's do a show.
Let's do it.
Let me go ahead and shut it down now.
Hey, look who's working at Burger King. My former magician. His tricks never worked. Magician, make me a Whopper.
Make you a Whopper. Okay. You're a Whopper.
No, I mean, give me a Whopper. Phew. Now make me a vanilla shake.
You're a vanilla shake.
Hey, you made me a bag of French fries.
Nobody's perfect.
Burger King, where kids are king.
Smacking off welcomes, Robert Arthur.
All right, so where does Kentucky figure into to the rest of this year? Because the Tennessee people they're concerned about Kentucky. I can tell.
As well, they should be.
Well, all they had to do was watch the game against Florida and realize that this wasn't a fluke win. There wasn't no gimmick offense. There wasn't some kind of miraculous thing that allowed Kentucky to win. It was very simple. They won an SEC-style game by having a better offensive line than Florida had a defensive line. They literally overpowered Florida. Do you think that someone in their life would ever say that? I got to say that again because I've seen it and it sounds so good. Kentucky overpowered Florida with line play to win the game.
Absolutely.
Don't y'all find that amazing?
I do.
Right. So if you look at that, when Tennessee and Kentucky played last, and UK won that game, they overplayed Florida. My bad. Tennessee with line play as well. So here we go. We're looking at the schedule, UK. We're looking ahead. We're looking at how many teams can physically dominate Kentucky. I'm looking through the schedule. They ain't got to play Alabama. They don't have to play Auburn. Right? So
they got Georgia coming to Lexington.
Georgia, I think Georgia beats UK. I'm going to stick with my pick from the beginning of the year. Kentucky finishes second in the East at 8-4 or 9-3. They probably, most likely, will lose against Texas A&M. And
that was in College Station.
2 more games through the year. I think Mississippi State is going to be the real test of whether or not UK has moved up a tier in the SEC, because Mississippi State and Kentucky are very similar right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're looking at the same thing, power running game, no tricks. We're going to ram it down your throat. We're going to control the clock. We're going to play power football and win this game. Whoever wins that game is going to be a real barometer for the whole rest of the SEC season in both the East and the West.
So, hold on for a second. Got something out there.
You got a frog in your throat. You know who else had a frog in their throat?
Who's that?
Miss Piggy.
Get the fuck out of here.
See, that's the thing that's interesting about UK this year, right? Now, I've always said that I felt talent and coaching were a wash between Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky. But Kentucky basically caught Florida and Tennessee this year both in transition. This was their chance, now or never moment. And there's some recruiting benefits for UK as well. UK has recruited solidly over the last 3 years, especially the last 2. Now those players from the whole run of the Stoops era are now the main players. Our offensive line, the players have increased by 20 to 50 pounds over historic levels on defensive line as well, and there's depth. Now we got a player, I wouldn't call him transformative. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he was the fastest player on the field against Florida, and that's UK's Florida quarterback. So now they've got an X factor. So I'm looking at the teams they have to play and who they don't. I think they'll lose to Georgia. I think they'll lose to Texas A&M, but I don't guarantee a loss for them after that. And as far as Tennessee goes, I'll stand by my statement that UK and Tennessee are a wash in both. Coach again, tell us you got a real football game.
Yep. Do you remember the last time that Kentucky beat Florida?
Oh yeah, I know exactly where I was at.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
I was in Okeechobee, Florida.
So was I.
And I was getting drunk with a guy named Rufus Tiger.
Oh, I know Rufus Tiger. I know Rufus well.
Yeah, my grandma ran me out of the shed where I had my little black and white TV watching the game on it.
I'll be damned. 1986 is the first year that I actually ever started that I paid attention to college football with detail.
Oh yeah, well I was getting ready to leave for the Army at that point, But yeah, that was the last time I watched it, and that was a great UK team. I had power running Mark Higgs. He had a good NFL career. Was a great back, and then there was I can't remember his name. There was another great back played for the Giants for many years and a couple other teams. And anyways, it was just a powerhouse, old school SEC style team. And they had a pretty good year that year. Put a few players in the NFL. I think one of them was Jermani Dodson, that played for the Steelers for many years. Jermani Dodson, a Hall of Famer, might be the greatest center in history. And anyway, so now that's where we're at. Instead of having to have some kind of gimmick offense when they had with Hal Mummy and with Tim Couch as the quarterback and constantly going for it in fourth down and insane trick plays and all that, UK can now win or lose based on the merits of talent and playing football the right way. Will they dominate the SEC? No. But I feel they can solidly move into the second tier of the SEC for sure and maintain it as long as Stoop is still the coach and as long as he's still recruiting. Is anybody going to root Alabama out of the way? No, I don't think so. Is Florida going to get back to the historic levels they had? Well, what are the historic levels of Florida? All right, they had success under Steve Spurrier. Okay, and under this younger generation that's 10 years younger than me and more, they think that there was some kind of all-time great Florida tradition. But if you look...
Well, I think that's part of that's Urban Meyer's fault, too, because, Urban Meyer had his success there with the, I think, I can't even hardly say arguably, one of the best college quarterbacks ever with 10.
Oh, yeah, but here's the thing. That's still only the last 20 years. If you go back over the whole history of Florida, they never dominated the SEC before Steve Spurrier.
Yeah, remember Ron Zook?
Yeah, Ron Zook. That's between Spurrier and.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of really that's the main bulk of their dynasty. If you take Spurrier's tenure out of it, I mean that's pretty much it. And a couple bright spots with Urban Meyer before he had his tragic health issues.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And if you talk about Ron Zook, I mean basically. Ron Zook made Florida the same team as Illinois, which it was like Back to the Future. Because in the 70s, Florida was no better than Illinois.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Robert's trying to say, and I think this would be directed at Kimberly Butts Teague and Andrea Charles, and I guess Davy Dave as well.
Vol fans, yeah.
Yeah, Vols are fucked.
Kentucky's coming for that ass.
Are they not, Robert?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind about it. I don't think that Florida has a better chance of repassing Kentucky again in terms of talent, but Tennessee's just where they're at for here on out. And don't discount Vanderbilt. It looks like to me that Vanderbilt has a few players. What if Tennessee doesn't even beat Vanderbilt?
No, that would be the third loss in a row, would it not?
Yes, yeah. And I would put at that point, if they don't drag full Fulmer out of the woodwork, I'd be shocked. Because they're trying to hold on to something. You remember when UK was having problems in basketball? Maybe 10 years ago, right before they got Calipari. It was on ESPN with Dickie V and all those other nuts talking about how they were down forever and they'd never come back. Right?
Yeah, they used to say that about the Alabama Crimson Tide during the Mike years, remember?
That's right. You know why? It doesn't have nothing to do with whether or not those programs could or would ever be successful. It has to do with the fact that they were signed with CBS and not ESPN.
Yeah.
Right? Now that they're on ESPN, it's all about how great they are. Now that the SEC is an ESPN property, it's all about how great they are. if they had a down year, either Tennessee or I should say Kentucky in basketball or Alabama in football, as long as they're in the SEC network, they just blow it off and continue the hype. But if they were still on CBS or Jefferson Pilot Sports, y'all may remember, right?
Jefferson Pilot Sports, man. I saw quite a few SEC games on Jefferson Pilot.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, they're screwing the customers now with the SEC network because in the days of Jefferson Pilot, you could pull out a set of rabbit ears and watch the game.
Well, there are ways to do that sort of thing now. I participate in that, and I haven't had cable in many years, and I don't miss a single damn game. Well, of course, I am piggybacking off of somebody's ESPN account right now.
Yeah.
We love it.
I may or may not be sitting in the same room with them. I don't know.
But that's the point, is that now that it's in the SEC network, right, and their main spokesman is Paul Feinbaum, right, it's all about the West, the West, the West, the West. So, therefore, there isn't going to be given any of those little breaks, the kind of breaks that would cause marginal teams like UK to lose to Tennessee and Florida in the past. Those breaks are over with, right? Because those teams no longer have the cachet to automatically get them anymore. You know, the kind of breaks that cause other teams to lose games and the plays aren't even replayed or questioned, right?
Right.
That kind of stuff is over for Tennessee and Florida. Now they got to play teams straight up. When they see Vanderbilt, the refs aren't going to legislate them out of the game, right? When UK plays them, the refs aren't going to legislate them out of the game, right? They're going to fuck Florida and Tennessee the same as they have fucked Kentucky and Vanderbilt. And that is where the worm is turned, right? Now, instead of going on the schedule and looking at that and putting a little X beside UK, well, that's an automatic win to take us to 9-3, you know? Those days are over them guys. They're going to have to play that game.
Man, I love that. I love that term, legislate them out of the game.
Yeah, it's South Carolina. UK's, got a 3-game winning streak against them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they think it's better because they got a new coach. But what new coach did they get? Will Muschamp?
Right.
He barely beat Florida with it took a miracle for Florida to beat UK when he was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that hired Will Muschamp is going to do anything to raise the quality of your program.
Yeah, definitely not. Bob, we're fixing to have to run. But, man, it was historical. It was a historical Saturday for UK fans. That's all I can say.
Me too. I'm happy.
I knew you were. As soon as I seen it happen, and I said, well, there goes my picks. But Bob's happy, I guarantee you. That's the first thing I thought.
Have a good now.
All right, man.
Go Cats.
Are you irritated with something we said on the podcast? Well then fuck you. Call the Smack line and tell us all about it at 304-508-BAIT. Don't be a pussy fuck boy. Call the Smack line today. Messages left on our Smack line will be used at the end of Smacking Off the podcast episodes.
See, I work construction. I build things. Do you understand how important that is to the world? I don't know if y'all realize the pressure a man like me's got on him.
Door High-Raise Construction. Area code 304-508-2248. Quality craftsmanship. Affordable price.
I told you 3 times already. The law's on my side.
Please welcome this week's guest prognosticator, Timothy Bailey.
When I heard you were doing the picks tonight, I kind of got excited because I knew this was going to be a great talk.
Ooh, well, I appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm giving you props. I know I busted your balls early on, but you had it coming. I mean, you're a fucking sooner.
You definitely had to. That's how it works. That's just what this podcast is.
Yeah. So, we've got some great games to talk about this week. I don't know where you want to start.
Well, I want to start with the fact that you guys got some awesome, you got an awesome little video you get to attach into the beginning of the intro now moving forward with what Mike Gundy said in his press conference yesterday. So that's
I heard there was something about him fiddling with a smoothie or something while he was giving it, kind of working the smoothie into the situation.
Yeah, and he told him it'd be better with vodka in it and stuff.
And it probably did have vodka in it too.
He said he told him that he wasn't driving home, so I'm guessing he was a little lit.
Okay, well, ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's responsible. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, we will definitely have to include that clip. You have you seen this yet?
I have.
It's
I have.
nice.
I think I'm going to put it on the podcast.
Yeah, I think we should. I really
At least
do.
the audio of it.
I don't know. Let's do the whole. Let's do because really him working that smoothie.
You got to see him stirring the smoothie.
Yeah,
too.
the smoothie really sets the whole thing off. It really just it really sets the tone for.
Yeah,
for
they're
the
like
greatness.
what did he say? They said something along the lines of did you think your team just wasn't physical enough tonight? He said, I don't know. The best way to know that is to look at the TV, but it's not a good look when the head coach is looking at the TV instead of the game.
You know, that he could actually start a trend though, if you think about it.
He already did, man. I've seen mullets all over the fucking place.
Yeah, this is true. I'm kind of growing a mullet right now too.
You
I
are?
need a haircut. I really do. Timothy, I've noticed your hair's gotten long too, just a little bit.
It gets long and then I cut it.
I mean, do you? What do you? How like? What's like the downtime for between haircuts? Like, do you wait like a month? Do you wait 3 months?
My hair grows really fast, so usually I have to do it like once every month and a half or so, maybe 2 months if I'm really trying to stretch it out.
Well, if you're just trying to stretch the dollar, man, you need to get a Flowbee.
Yeah, I mean, I cut my own hair at home, so.
I remember those things.
Flowbee.
There's the one that you attach
like
it to
the
the vacuum.
vacuum.
Yeah, those things were amazing.
Really?
Did you ever use one?
No.
No, I didn't either. There's no way I'm putting something like that on my head.
You used it, but you didn't put it on your head.
Yeah, I put it on my head, but it's not the one that had all that
Not
hair
the
on
one
it.
you're thinking of.
No. It did that hair pretty well, too.
All right, man.
Smooth as a baby's ass.
Let's talk some week 3, man. We got some good games this week.
We do have some good games to talk about. In fact, you already brought up Okie State. Let's talk about Boise at Okie State.
So we don't really know a lot about Oklahoma State. The only thing I know for sure so far is that Taylor Cornelius, the Oklahoma State quarterback, is not nearly as good as the quarterbacks he's had the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
He's a senior, and he doesn't quite seem to be all the way there. Now, that said, he's had some decent statistics against some not-so-great competition. But when I've watched him, I haven't felt like he was really that good. I don't know how much that'll hurt them against Boise State. I know it's not going to help them very much in Big 12 play. That's going to be a coin flip game. I think this is such a 50-50 game. It being at home makes me think I should go Oklahoma State, but I just have a feeling Boise State's going to come in and win because the Broncos, they're supposed to be one of the better group of 5 teams this year, and if they are, then they have to come in and win this game. Because if they're not able to win this game against, what should be, a decent Power 5 team, then they're not really going to have much of a case for that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So you got a score prediction?
The score, I'll say something like 31, 34, something like that. I do think it'll be. I don't think it will be too high scoring, but I do think it will. It'll be up there. It won't be a defensive affair. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I really do. Ohio State versus TCU. I really want to get into this one with you because this is a big game. The TCU, of course. I think where are they at in the rankings currently? 16th.
Way
15th?
too low.
Yeah, and Ohio State. Technically, this is the last game that they will be without Coach Urban Meyer, which we all know better than that. Technology these days, I'm sure that Urban Meyer will be there in spirit. And in a bunch of years.
I thought he was dressing up as
Brutus
as the mascot.
Brutus, yeah.
Brutus. Stop saying yes, Coach. They'll catch on.
So, do you think the Buckeyes are going to pull it out against the Horned Frogs? How do you feel?
It's really tough to tell. Much like Doug actually said, in the preseason, I looked at this game and I said it's a no-brainer that Ohio State loses this game after losing Urban Meyer. As much respect as I have for TCU, but I mean, there's a reason why Vegas has it as a -13 for Ohio State. Now that being said, I'm trying not to get too high on Ohio State because they've played extremely well. But there's only one team worse in the Power 5 than the 2 teams they've played, and that's Kansas. And we'll figure out if Rutgers is worse than Kansas this week too.
Yeah.
Which I'll take Kansas in that game for fun.
Yeah.
That'll be our 11th game. I'll take Kansas in a fun one.
Poor Kansas.
A fun game. Anyway, honestly, we don't really know as much about Ohio State as we're acting like we do. I mean, we do know that Haskins can throw, because his numbers would be impressive versus the air that he's had so far. But he hasn't. He did have a pick in the first game. The Ohio State defense in the first game actually gave up a lot of yards to the young running back from Oregon State. That dude almost had like 200 yards total. So that's something to look out for, with the fact that, TCU has weapons at the skill positions, probably the best skill position group they're going to play this year, with Kevontae Turpin and Darius Anderson at running back, and then also you have Jalen Reagor at wide receiver, or at the other wide receiver than Kevontae Turpin. The other important thing to note here is that up until this season, Ohio State's special teams coordinator has been Urban Meyer. And
interesting. I didn't know that.
This is the first year that Urban Meyer relinquished control of the special teams. And the special teams hasn't been very good in recent years. If you remember kicking it to Saquon Barkley several times in last year's game against Penn State. Unless they've gotten a hell of a lot better, this is going to be a tough special teams unit. Kevontae Turpin's a preseason All-American, and deservingly so. TCU already has 3 punt return touchdowns this season, and they did so in both games. And Kevontae Turpin isn't the only one to have one of those kick return touchdowns. They almost had 4. Kevontae Turpin got tripped up against SMU on a late one. He almost broke a second. So this is a really, really, really heavy advantage special teams to TCU in this game. And because of that, I definitely think TCU not only has a chance to keep it close, but to win. Because, when you make big plays on special teams, that can go a long way.
Absolutely.
Now, on the flip side, these 2 offensive lines are both in for a long day. TCU's defensive line with Ben Bangabo, I can't Bangaboo, something like that, man. He has a crazy last name. That guy had like 14 sacks or something last year and like 21 tackles for loss. The guy's a beast, and I'm pretty sure it's the same tackle that couldn't defend Oboe last year that Ohio State's about to roll out there against them, and I think that's going to be really, really tough for Ohio State's offensive line to handle. I also think that TCU is going to struggle all night to block Nick Bosa and company. It's not just Nick Bosa that Ohio State has. They have a great defensive line, one of the top 3 or 4 units in the nation in that category. I think it's going to be tough. I don't think it'll be super low scoring, but I don't think it gets to the 30s. I'm going to call 28-24 TCU win.
Wow. Yeah,
Kevontae Turpin punt return touchdown.
That should be a good game.
I think it's crazy to disrespect TCU's receiving. Again, TCU's won 10 in the last 15 years. TCU has won 11 or more games 10 times. They've had 2 teams good enough to win the national championship who didn't get an invite, one of those being at the expense of Ohio State in 2014, when TCU won a game 52-3 and dropped from 3-6.
Yep.
In the final rankings. So, I do think that Gary Patterson will have his guys ready and takes this personally. I really do, because of what happened in 2014.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, here comes trouble. It's
the lady in charge of the school cafeteria.
Smart shopper. Squeezes bread to see if it's fresh.
Then she'll see why they call us the fresh guys.
Imagine, every loaf of Wonder is wrapped warm from the oven.
In this Stay Fresh wrapper.
No wonder we stay so fresh.
And pass the squeeze test.
Oh, that's smart.
Wonder Bread, one squeeze proves we're the fresh guys. Woo!
What do you think about Vandy going to South Bend?
Notre Dame had a really weak performance last week, and there's no other way to describe it, against Ball State. Who's not even a good group of 5 team. This isn't 5 years ago, I think, when they won 10 games. I mean, Ball State's not good. That being said, Notre Dame has shown us the history of doing this in the past under Brian Kelly. They'll have a big win, and then they'll somehow be in a struggle fest with a really bad team. See 2012, whenever they beat Oklahoma and Norman, and then the next week they almost laid an egg and went to double overtime with a really bad Boston College team. I'm not going to sound the alarms for the fact that they played poorly against Ball State, especially when we have a lot of teams that are playing poorly for some reason in the beginning of the season. So I'm going to say that Notre Dame still brings the wood against Vandy, and this is probably a blowout, something like 38-14. But if that's not the case, I think we'll definitely have a reason to be concerned about Notre Dame moving forward. Definitely have to reevaluate the idea of them, competing for a spot in the college football playoff if they're not dominant in this one.
I would agree.
Let me ask you about FSU Syracuse. Speaking of poor play, FSU gave up 475 yards to Samford. That's Samford with a S-A-M and not Stanford. 475 yards in passing they gave up.
Yeah.
How are they going to fare against Syracuse?
I think Florida State had kind of a letdown. It's not often that Florida State loses an opener, let alone one at home, and the way they lost was probably pretty depressing. Florida State still hasn't figured out their offensive line situation. There were moments in this game against Stanford where the Florida State offensive line was getting handled, and that's the thing that scares me. Stanford's passing for a lot of yards. That doesn't shock me as much. Stanford has a really good quarterback. He's probably going to be an NFL quarterback.
You're probably right about that. But at the same time, the rest of the team just seemed to be moving in slow motion. And I'm talking about both of them. This wasn't like a...
Right.
Sanford wasn't, hurry-up offense really just driving the ball down their throats. No. They were just playing, simple, methodical football.
I agree with you. They didn't do anything fancy. They're a true pro style. What we saw of Florida State's defense against Virginia Tech, I think, is more what we will be accustomed to from Florida State's defense. So, again, I'm not going to sound the alarm on the Sanford situation. I'm more going to sound the alarm on their Week 1 performance against Virginia Tech on offense. And again, Sanford sneaks up on people. That quarterback had almost 300 yards passing against Georgia the year before and no interceptions.
Yeah.
So it's not something that shocks me that this guy, went off and Florida State, is caught napping. My big issue with Florida State is I think Taggart has a long way to go. Not because I don't think this beginning is Taggart's fault as much as people are making it out to be. Of course, he deserves blame because they're his players at this point. But I think he has to, as Donald Trump said, he has to drain the swamp. There's a culture issue at Florida State that Jimbo left behind. These guys feel entitled in some kind of way, and they haven't played up to their standards or their capabilities the last
Well, let's
few
be
years.
fair. That's been going on there for quite some time, except for, early in Jimbo's tenure when everybody was truly bought into the program. And now, of course,
Right.
with Jimbo's last year there before he skipped off to Texas A&M, I mean, it kind of...
That's true. It kind of, you kind of saw it downtrend.
And
Because,
I think
you
we're
know, you
seeing the
had
fruits
the-
of that right now. I really do with these two dismal performances. Because Samford was balling that pretty much the whole entire game up until the very, very end when they just finally ran out of gas.
Are y'all saying that Jimbo got out while the getting was good?
I think Jimbo created this problem and escaped before it hurt his image.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's what I personally think. Because I think Jimbo created this culture that they have at Florida State. Because think about it. After they won the national championship in 2014, we started to see this. In 2014, the team that went undefeated until they ran into Oregon, who beat them by forcing 5 turnovers. They almost lost like every game that year, including a bad Oklahoma State team that year. They almost lost that. It was crazy. Every week they were an escape artist. And then in 2015, it was kind of a rebuild, but you kind of respected, what they were able to accomplish. You're like, okay, they lost a lot of good players. They did good. 2016, that team should have been better than Clemson. And to be honest, if we're going to be real about it, they got cheated against Clemson with that clipping call, but that's really not the subject we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
Florida State has been on the downtrend for a while, but not what we saw last year was a shock. But it's one of those things where, like, it must have been that Jimbo didn't teach these kids about adversity. Because as soon as adversity hits, they're not what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing you could say about Florida State before is if they hit adversity, which they did a lot, at least they bounced back. I think the first point was the Louisville blowout loss. That's where you start, and you look at the very first, when you start to find the real decline, I think that's where you look.
Well, here's the question: are they going to find any adversity up at the Carrier Dome, or are they even?
They'll definitely find some adversity up there. I don't know if their adversity will end with them coming back with the loss back to tally. And I'm going to say that they don't lose that game. But I will say that they're going to face some adversity. Dungy is a heck of a quarterback. But I think it is a year too soon for Syracuse. So I'm going to say Florida State will win the game, and it might be an ugly, ugly score like 21-13 or something crazy like that. I do think Florida State wins.
No,
but
absolutely.
at the same time, though, I definitely think this is going to be a drag-out fight. I think Florida State can win every game on their schedule, and I think they can lose every game on their schedule. And I think all of them are going to be fights, no matter what. They'll play up and down to their competition.
What do you think about BYU going to Wisconsin?
I think they're going to run into a buzzsaw, just like they waited for one last year when Wisconsin went to Provo. I think that's going to get ugly fast and stay ugly for a long time.
Do you think Wisconsin's going to be one of the teams that we need to look for at the end of the year, going to the big dance?
Yeah, I do. It concerns me sometimes that they seem to take their time to set their offense up. Because they do have the talent. They have good receivers. Alex Hornibrook is, we've seen him play at a high level. We haven't seen him consistently do so. And they have Jonathan Taylor. So they really shouldn't be starting so slow on offense like they did the last 2 weeks. That does concern me when they go up against Ohio State or even Penn State. That does give me some concern for that team. But it doesn't concern me against BYU at all. I think that'll be over at halftime. It'll be like 45 to 10 or something like that. It's gonna be an ass kicking, I'd imagine.
All right. All right. We got LSU coming up to Jordan-Hare Stadium and facing the mighty Auburn Tigers.
Well, I was really impressed with Joe Burrow in the first week against Miami. Some of the audibles he made, his mind is definitely in it. He understands the system. That being said, LSU doesn't understand what they have on offense. And they also, it looks like, lost their best running back for the foreseeable future, if not the season, if I remember correctly. Auburn's going to be thinking about revenge because ultimately that game may have kept them out of the college football playoff had they not been able to beat Alabama. Obviously, Auburn didn't get there, but they had an opportunity to get there. I think Auburn, just like they normally are at home, is going to be really tough for LSU to beat, and I don't think LSU's figured out what they have yet. And I think this one could get ugly. I think it could be a 31-10 type game.
Man, it is so weird you said that because right before you said the score, that's kind of what I was thinking in my head, 31-10. Exactly. That's we're on the same wavelength. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
USC and Texas. Texas Longhorns. Oh.
That was that game looked great at the beginning of before the season started, and now it looks like the toilet bowl.
Yeah, it looks like USC all day long.
I don't know.
Now,
USC looked terrible last week.
And this is true. Texas, however, yeah.
I would pick Texas right now. I mean, they're playing in Austin. USC did not look good.
I think we need to do a stake bet on this one.
Did you watch what Texas did last week at home against Tulsa?
Oh, no, I know they look bad.
Yeah, they look bad. They lost to Maryland again. It is a bad time to be a Texas Longhorn fan.
Well, what do you think about this game, Tim?
Well, I'm going to say this. I am an Oklahoma fan, so of course I don't like Texas. Now, that being said, I want Texas to be good for the perception of the league. It helps with the College Football Playoff Committee, not because I'm a raw Big 12 guy, but because, when your league's better and the best teams in your league are good,
right.
It helps the perception. Like this year, OU might run the table, and the Big 12 looks awfully weak this year. So, call it like it is. That's not going to help them come December. But anyway, back to the point. Texas, I think, has the same issue as Florida State for a different reason. They have a cultural issue there. For a long time, they were used to losing with Charlie Strong. And I think when Herman came in there, he's really stirred the hornet's nest, and he hasn't done it in a positive way. Everything I've heard, coaches in Texas dislike him. The parents of Texas players dislike him. Texas players dislike him. His former Texas players who were good dislike him. Like we're talking about All-Americans, like Connor Williams and what is his name? The safety, Deshaun Elliott. That concerns me about Texas. I think Texas is so capable of not only crushing Maryland, who they failed to do so, and they have absolutely the capability of beating USC. But here's the thing. USC's big weakness is defending the run. And Texas still can't do it.
They still can't run?
Still can't do it. I mean, they couldn't run against Tulsa. They couldn't run against Maryland. And USC, like I said, their weakness has been stopping the run so far this year. They didn't do well containing Bryce Love. They didn't do well containing the running back from UNLV. But I can't see Texas having a 200-yard rushing game. And because of that, I can't see them beating USC.
All right, what's your score prediction on that one?
Well, this is tough because I don't know how well Texas is going to show up. But if they show up like they did the first 2 weeks, 28-7.
Ooh. Well, that'd be a nasty game at home, too.
Our audio-only podcast is hosted at podcastgarden.com/podcast/smackingOff. Or find us on Google Play Music. Or on iTunes.
The shit's going to hit the fan when the Longhorns hear this.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have to quote you on this and meme it, Tim.
I actually hope Texas wins, but I don't think it'll happen. That's really gross that I said I hope Texas wins, but I do hope Texas wins, but they're not going to.
All right, we've got Bama going to Ole Miss.
You know, Ole Miss has been Bama's thorn in recent years.
Yep.
They really have. This Ole Miss team doesn't have any players. I guess they just didn't recruit any defensive players, or maybe all those guys transferred to other programs amid the scandal. Because they didn't really play very good defense against Texas Tech, and that's understandable because it's Texas Tech. So you're like, all right, I'll give them a pass. And then they were down 38-35 to an FCS school that I don't remember the name
of. Southern Illinois.
Southern Illinois.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know.
Not even the northern kind of Illinois.
No, yeah, not to be confused with Northern Illinois, which actually has somewhat of a program.
I didn't even know there was a Southern Illinois, to be honest.
Well, you know now. They scored 69 points. But they gave up 41.
Right.
You know, if anything, I guess you could say, well, look, they only gave up 3 after halftime, but it's an FCS school. This should have been a thing in the first half, too. Mm-hmm. Bama beat them like they stole something, in which they did twice. They stole 2 games from Alabama twice the 2 years before, and they beat them like they stole something, and they made a statement. They threw Tua in, and their backups were 2 5-star guys that they just continued to bring the wood against them, and they didn't let up all game. I think Alabama wins, and I think it'll be something insane. I think this is going to be one of those scores you look back at and you go, how did that happen? Because I don't think this is going to be a very good Ole Miss team overall. But I think this game is going to be something insane that we don't see Bama play very often. I think this is going to be like a 70-45 type game, like something that you just don't expect. Okay. I think it's going to be wild.
I don't know. I just don't see Ole Miss, which actually has been moving the ball pretty well, but I just don't see them standing up against that defense. I really don't.
It wouldn't shock me if I'm thinking that Ole Miss will score.
I'm not saying that they're going to blank them by any means, but yeah, somewhere in the mid to high 20s.
But I mean, it wouldn't shock me if something would like. I mean, it wouldn't just blow me away if something like that happened.
Well, the thing is we haven't seen Alabama get tested yet. I thought Louisville was going to be a better test than it was.
I did too, to be honest.
Louisville. Well, what I mean is I thought they were going to be better than Louisville is this year. Yeah. I mean, we saw them against Indiana State, and they weren't very good in that game either. And then Alabama played Colorado State, who they couldn't stop Hawaii. I just don't. And Arkansas State was pretty impressive. That was an impressive win. That was their most impressive, I think, so far, and that sounds kind of weird. I don't think Alabama's played the schedule that could challenge their defense yet, because you got to keep in mind they kicked off a linebacker off their team who started a lot of games last year for them. They lost 2 of their guys that were slated to be starters at linebacker. Their defensive line isn't quite the Bama standard. They're still very good, but they're not the Bama standard we're accustomed to. They weren't that great last year besides Deron Payne. They were still a good unit, but I'm saying like the Bama standard for defensive line is much higher than what it was last year. And then they lose Deron Payne. I don't think that they're the defense they were. Losing Minka hurts them in the passing game. Mm-hmm. I think this will be their first real test. And I do think Ole Miss will put up points. and it may be the precursor for how Alabama looks on film and fixes it for future matchups. So this may be one of those things where, like, this is good that it happens early. But I also don't think this is going to be a close game either. I think Ole Miss can put up points in bunches, but that doesn't matter if you can't stop them at all.
Right.
I mean,
True.
they can't stop. They're not going to stop Alabama at all. I mean, Tua is going to throw for 6 touchdowns in this game.
It sounds like your dog agrees.
Well, let's talk about the Huskies at Utah.
Yeah, the biggest game of the day. Tiggy.
Yeah, Tiggy.
I think this game is going to be fantastic. The last time Washington traveled to Salt Lake to win, they needed a punt return touchdown by John Ross to win that game. Or not John Ross, it was Dante Pettis. They needed the punt return touchdown to win that game. That was the year that Washington went to the college football playoff, and they've proven in their 2 matchups with the SEC. You hear a lot of the propaganda about the SEC and how there's just a different brand. It is a different brand of football. It's not like it's much better than everybody else's, but it is different in the sense that it's very physical in the trenches. And Washington stood up in both of those, and I've been impressed by the fact, even though they lost both of those games, they didn't look overpowered in either of them. But this is the kind of games in the Pac-12 that test Washington for it, because you know what you're going to get from Utah. They're going to be sound in the trenches. They're going to play quality defense. They're going to be well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. And this team was really young last year, and their offensive line is returning a lot of pieces, so they look good. I think this is going to be a tough game for Washington. I do think they win, but I'm going to just say it's just the exact same thing that happened the last time. I'm going to call it 31-24. I'm going to say it's a defensive touchdown this time that lifts Washington over Utah in a scare game for them.
Well, that sounds like that might be the best game of the day to watch.
I'll tell you what, though.
It hasn't looked great besides the TCU Ohio State. I think the TCU Ohio State game is going to be a blast because I think we're going to see dudes. We're going to see a lot of NFL talent on the field, and we got 2 young quarterbacks that have looked that look the part. I think in Haskins and Sean Robinson for the TCU Ohio State game.
We've got to talk about for the grand finale, the ultimate revenge match. Oklahoma at Iowa State, and I know that you will be watching this one very closely.
I will. I will be. I thought this was going to be a bigger test than what I think it is now. I don't know if it was just that Iowa State was rusty for not getting the full game in before they played Iowa, but their offense was pretty lethargic against Iowa. They only scored 3 points. Now, that said, Iowa State's defense looked really good against Iowa. And Iowa does have a quarterback prospect that's likely to be taken in the first 3 rounds in the NFL draft, and Nate Stanley. But I still don't think overall Iowa's offense is that good. So I'm really not sure how much I should take from that game and know if Iowa State's defense is going to be that good. Oklahoma losing Rodney Anderson was definitely a tough blow for them.
Yeah, I was just fixing to ask you your opinion about that.
I think what it does for Oklahoma is it could lower their ceiling overall. I don't know. Well, let's look at it this way. In 2008, when Oklahoma went and played Florida in the national championship game, Oklahoma was not out. They were not overmatched by Florida by any means in that game. But there was definitely a difference without having DeMarco Murray. And I am worried that when Oklahoma gets to the end of the season, when they have to play the teams in the college football playoff, because I do believe they are going to be in the college football playoff, and I think it'll be a pretty easy road there to the college football playoff. I think it could hurt. I think it could hurt really bad if they play Alabama or Ohio State. I definitely think that not having Rodney Anderson can definitely hurt them in a game like that. Because, listen, Oklahoma has a great backfield. They might have the best backfield in the nation in terms of the deepest stable of running backs. But there's nothing that replaces a guy as good as Rodney Anderson. There's just no way you do it. Oklahoma replaced Adrian Peterson with Alan Patrick, who was fantastic. But he wasn't Adrian Peterson. If Derrick Henry gets hurt for Alabama a few years ago, you still had Damian Harris on the roster and some other guys who were studs. But let's call it like it is. You know, you're not sure if you win that game against Clemson without Derrick Henry, right?
No, definitely not.
And that's where I worry about Oklahoma. At least, and I also hate it for Rodney because this is his third season-ending injury in 4 years, and the dude is a great kid, really good, hard-working guy. He really does not deserve to deal with another injury. He really doesn't, and I really do feel for him because it's really tough to come back from injuries, and he's done it twice. I think he'll do it a third time. He'll get a medical red shirt if he wants it, so he'll have 2 more years of eligibility at Oklahoma. I don't think that he'll use both of them. He might use one and try to springboard into the NFL. He was projected to be a first-round pick in this year's draft. Obviously, that's not going to be the case anymore for him. And it's definitely tough for him. I feel so bad for that kid. I really do, because he doesn't deserve to deal with that again. I mean, and it's bad luck. It's not re-injuries. They're 3 different injuries. I mean, it's just the worst luck you can ask for, man. It really is.
I got you. Well, Timothy, we're fixing to have to boot. We've got a full show tonight, but man, this was a great segment, and I'm really looking forward to these games.
To boot. What are we gonna? Who are we gonna boot this time?
Who should we boot? Let's boot Tiggy.
Let's boot. No, we're not gonna boot. We can't boot Tiggy. Tiggy is
no. We're just gonna.
He is a founding member of this program.
We're just fixing to get our boots moving.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take Oklahoma in the game a lot to a little. I don't know how much that's going to be. We'll see.
I'm going to throw.
Kyler Murray sure looked good. He might be a Heisman contender.
I'm going to throw this one out there because, quite frankly, I think this is going to be kind of a grudge match, and I don't think that Lincoln's going to let up off the gas on this one. I think he's going to run the score up to the heavens.
I agree.
It could be that Nick Saban show and Ole Miss who's boss kind of thing.
I think, I really do. That was, especially the flag plant at the end of it too. That was a really, really, really tough loss. I know for the Sooners, which of course didn't affect things in the grand scheme of things. They still made it to the playoffs at the end of the day.
I definitely think that if Iowa State hadn't beaten Oklahoma last year, I would look at this game as a potential loss for Oklahoma, a team that might, catch them off guard early. But the fact that they beat them last year, I don't give them much of a chance in this game. And also, Kyle Kempt is hurt. He's not going to be playing. He's unsure, but he's not going to play against Oklahoma.
Yeah. All right, Timothy. We appreciate you coming on.
Hey, man, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I had a blast.
All right.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, man.
Meet Super Friends. Superman. Wonder Woman. Aquaman. Batman. Together for the first time with 3 new friends. Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog. Super Friends.
Talk about winning championships. They're a champion. They've won the biggest championship, and that's a championship of life.
Each week, Smacking Off presents our Life Championship Top 10. This week's Life 10 is brought to you by Bad Month Tires. You don't have the slack for Goodyear, so why not aim for the middle? Bad Month Tires, the most economical tire money can buy. Also brought to you by Doyle Hargrave Construction.
Stay out of my goddamn face, you fucking buzzard.
Also brought to you by Dapper Dan Pomade.
Well, I don't want fuck, goddammit. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
And now, this week's Life Championship Top 10. Number 10, the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 9, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Number 8, the Tennessee Volunteers. Number 7, the Washington Huskies. Number 6, the Florida State Seminoles. Number 5, the Miami Hurricanes. Number 4, the Florida Gators. Number 3, the Michigan State Spartans. Number 2, the Penn State Nittany Lions. And numero uno, for the 3rd week in a row, the Michigan Wolverines.
This
This segment is brought to you by Family Smack. Fuck your mama, fuck your daddy and fuck your entire family.
Let's welcome Shannon Russo, Walter Bryan, and Amy Sheffield Welch to Smacking Off the Podcast.
Shannon Russell.
Well, Shannon Madden speaking. How are you?
No, we know Shannon Madden. We're talking Shannon Russell, the corn dog queen.
Who is that?
This is Amy.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, we threw Amy into this one too. Amy's going to be our guest referee because this is more madness
shit.
than
Y'all,
we can
wait,
really
hold
handle.
on. Time out.
Yes, ma'am.
You're letting me referee something?
Yeah, take your clothes off.
Oh, I'm naked and ready.
I knew it already. I knew you were naked. I just wanted to hear you say it with your voice, with your mouth. Well, Shannon Russell, we got to talk. We got to talk to her for a second because this is her maiden voyage, as it were, on Smacking Off the Podcast.
How long has it been since you've been a maiden, Shannon?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you say it one more time.
How long has it been since you've been a maiden?
A maiden, a long time.
So you're an experienced woman. Is that what we're talking about here?
She's a very popular person. I can vouch for that.
Walter Bryan, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are y'all?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful because we get to talk about one hell of a matchup this weekend. The LSU Tigers and the Auburn Tigers.
Oh, this is huge. I think it's the biggest game of the year for Auburn so far, despite opening against Washington.
Yeah, I did too. That was kind of a snooze fest, to be honest.
What'd you say?
That was kind of a snooze fest, to be honest. It was,
against Washington, it was ugly.
Yeah, Auburn was taking care of business in that one.
Well, I'll tell you what.
If Washington had done their job, I mean,
they would have won.
Yeah, I mean, they just were fighting themselves. Yeah. I want to see how Auburn's going to do against a team that actually has their shit together.
And I believe that we're going to see that this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so also. And I'm not an LSU fan by any means, but go GEAUX Tigers this weekend.
Well, I've seen everybody's popular opinion is Auburn winning this game, but I've made no prediction. I never overlook LSU. This is a premier rivalry, and it has been for going on 20 years now. So I can remember when LSU was our biggest rival. That was before Nick Saban rolled into town.
Yeah.
What? Hold on. Back up. You remember when LSU was Auburn's biggest rival?
I sure do. Absolutely.
You must be quite a bit older
they
than
were
I
at
am.
some point.
Yeah, that would have been Mike years. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
But actually, Florida has always been our biggest rival, believe it or not. It's just Florida hasn't been that great the last several years, but my generation.
Hey, tell that to a Tennessee fan right now.
Yeah, Florida's always been my number one.
Well, if you look this rivalry up, though, it's actually one of the most unique rivalries in terms of craziest finishes. I mean, this is one of probably the most back and forth rivalry in college football in the past 20 years. It seems like we split every year.
One comes to mind is when Curly Hallman was at LSU.
Oh,
and
Lord.
LSU actually had a decent lead over Auburn. Intercepted like four balls in the fucking fourth quarter and come back from like a 20-something point deficit and won the game.
Bernardo then, Jerry Bernardo.
Well, I don't know if that tops last year, though. I mean, we had our foot on their throat, a 20-point lead, and
we came back. Yep.
How they won that game, I still don't know.
Another game, another one that comes to mind.
We lost to Troy, right?
Ow! Oh, yeah. This is the conversation I was hoping you're going to have.
Oh, another one that comes to mind is Les Miles basically could have won with a field goal. And he wasn't even paying attention.
I remember that one, yeah.
Was not even paying attention to the fucking clock. And he throws, he has his quarterback throw into the corner of the end zone and actually make a touchdown with the clock expiring.
Right.
So if he don't get that, they lose, and they were already in field goal position.
Yeah, and our trees were blazing after that game.
And I believe they had a timeout left, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Les was not good at watching the clock.
Well, yeah, but he come across like a pro because it just worked out. But anybody that knows football knew that he just wasn't paying no fucking attention.
No, he really
Did
wasn't.
I miss that? Hold on, back up.
Yeah.
Did he just say their trees were blazing after
Yeah.
that game?
Yeah.
Following that
was
game?
The game?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to
That
Auburn.
wasn't Updike, though.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to Auburn, but they grow some amazing pot down there. It's an agricultural school.
I mean,
yeah.
seriously, guys, I'm being serious right now.
I am too, man. They played some trees down there.
Yeah, but it turned out
that game is when the trees were on fire.
Yeah,
yeah, but
I remember.
It turned out it was an Auburn alum that actually set the tree on fire.
Of course.
Okay. I remember.
Fucking
which one we're
Barters.
talking about now. Okay, yeah, and it was an Auburn. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there were charges filed, I'm sure.
This segment,
they made that guy pay $500,000 for that tree, didn't they?
This segment is brought to you by Uncle Harvey's Tree Service.
Yeah.
What about Harvey Updike though?
That was horrible. And you know what pisses me off is everybody's all, oh, the Updike stuff. Not all Alabama fans agree with. I mean, that was shitty. I don't care who you are, who you root for.
I think it was shitty. There's no reason that he should have got fined. What was it, like $750,000 for that fucking tree?
Look,
I'm serious.
There's one reason. There's one reason. He told on himself. I mean, hell, if you're going to go on the Fine Bomb show and admit it.
He did. But then again, why are you going to do something like that and not tell people about it? I mean, really?
Why would you do something like that to begin with? You might as well have just plucked the fucking eagle. I mean, why would you have done that?
Trust me, if Harvey could got a hold of that eagle, that motherfucker would have been plucked. It'd been bald as my ass.
God, and now everything. If you're an Alabama fan, you hear Updike constantly, and it's just, I don't know.
You don't think it's a good look for the program, Amy?
Yeah.
I think Uncle Harvey is one of the most amazing human beings that ever walked the face of the earth.
I was going to say, I do think that he embodies the Crimson Tide fan base.
Yeah, I think he does too, to a T.
Have y'all seen the documentary about the Iron Bowl?
Yeah, 30 on 30. Yeah.
He said he just had too much Bama in him.
That whole entire broadcast, that was actually Paul Feinbaum's. That was his audition for ESPN.
So hard, I peed myself.
You're right, though. It did wonders for Feinbaum's ratings. I mean, he owes Updike some royalties.
I don't know. I think
Lord.
Look. Harvey Updike sent him into the stratosphere, but let's not forget the person that actually put Paul Feinbaum on the map. That was Phyllis from Mulga. Phyllis from Mulga. There was Phyllis from Mulga.
Another Alabama fan.
Oh, God.
Yeah. You remember? Do you listen to Feinbaum at all, or have you ever kept up with Feinbaum over the years?
Yes.
I don't listen to it regularly.
Phyllis from Mulga was actually one of his original callers when he was based out of Birmingham. Phyllis, we actually live right down the road from Mulga. Mulga's not far from here at all, and she is chain smoking.
Oh no! I would never have guessed.
Won't take the Marlboro out of her mouth to tell the state trooper to kiss her ass, kind of woman. Yeah, she's hardcore. And this was in the early days of YouTube, and
so she's typical Alabama, is what you're saying.
No, watch it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair.
We don't all chain smoke.
I do.
I don't.
Yeah, you smoke something. I know what you.
Whatever.
Go Cox.
Saquon broccoli.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah, though surprisingly, Feinbaum was not. I mean, this was after the Miami game. I haven't listened to him this week. I've been busy, but he actually didn't bash LSU and said that and he was going to hold out on his opinions on whether or not LSU could beat Alabama to see how he beats Auburn.
LSU looks good, in my opinion. They look good, and I know a lot of people give Ed O some grief, but I kind of like Ed O. Really?
I'm not a fan of Coach O. I'll admit that.
I'll tell you what I like about him. He's honest. If you watch his press conferences, he's honest.
No, yeah, but Urban Meyer has proven that nobody really needs honesty in their program right now.
Look,
honesty is not going to win you some national championships. So y'all settle down.
No, I'm honest. I'll say it exactly how it is. And does that make me a good coach?
No.
I mean, come on.
Right? I agree. But well, he gets ridiculed so much, so it's kind of like it would kind of look. He looked like an idiot if he wasn't honest, in my opinion. But
it's his voice.
Here's the thing.
He sounds like he's chewing rebar.
I kind of like the way he talks.
Oh,
he sound he's.
I like how you talk too.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks because he's Cajun, but Cajun people actually are not hard to understand. Really,
no, they're not.
His voice is not. The issue is not because he's Cajun. It's just him.
I think he just sounds uneducated, in my opinion.
Right.
Hey, Mr. Potato Head! What do you got for us?
2 new Mr. Potato Head toys,
Donald, stop! Those are the clowns!
each with Mr. Potato Head. Take all the parts and put them together.
Where do the noses go?
Where noses belong.
Forget Bodo. Donald's almost Donald. Shut your mouth. Mr. Potato Head, where's your other ear?
It's over here. Mr. Potato Head toys from Hasbro.
Let me tell y'all about the Tebow story. In 2009, December 2009, Alabama played Tebow. My mother was literally like 3 days away from dying. She's lying there, had been asleep for a week, like in a coma in her living room. And it's the SEC championship game. And I'm watching Tebow cry. And my grandmother's sitting there. And my mother wakes up from a goddamn coma, put it on Cops. My 80-year-old grandmother, who is sitting here, we have been praying for my mother for a week. My grandmother sits up and looks at her and says, Sue, it's the Alabama football game. You can wait. The first words my dying mother had said in a week. I mean, that's what Alabama football is. That's terrible, isn't it? That's an awful story.
I thought that was a beautiful story.
Matter of fact, we're going to have to use that for the beginning of the podcast.
I think we will.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's going to be the intro for every podcast now.
But literally,
you need another Alabama plug for your podcast. Let me tell you.
Look, y'all, that was that Saturday night, and my mother
I sent to the little butthurt there.
Tuesday night, but that was her last words. Was put it on Cops, and we argued with her. Tebow's crying. We can't change the station.
Oh yeah.
How
horrible!
That
was a milestone to see Tebow cry.
It really was.
Look,
Auburn beat Tebow twice too. Auburn's one of the few schools that Tebow lost to.
Has he lost his virginity yet? Is he married now?
I hope so.
Urban Meyer has never beaten Auburn.
I swear to God, when I listen to him,
Tebow. He makes me sick.
When I listen to Tebow, I swear to God, he sounds so gay.
Yeah,
he really does. He sounds like a gay man to me. He does.
I think he might be a gay man.
He was a great running back, though. One of the greatest running backs in SEC history.
Guys, this is a true story. Urban Meyer has never beaten Auburn. It's a true story.
Yeah, he was 0-2 with Tebow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking Tebow. I just can't like him. I'm sorry.
We beat him at LSU. Beat him in 07. Y'all know
that was Tubby.
I hope everybody does.
Is that Tuberville?
Yeah.
Well, you beat
Tommy
everybody
Tuberville,
in 07 except Alabama.
The Riverboat Gambler. Yeah.
God, my
That
dad
guy.
has got the biggest heart on for Tuberville.
I love Tubby, man. Tubby was awesome.
Pre-game because everybody hated it because they hate Georgia.
Tubby took the most ultimate advantage of the Mike years, hands down, and he was really he was blessed in that regard. He really was. He took a golden opportunity and ran with it.
Well,
and I think the undefeated season still sticks with a lot of people too. That I think that's Tuberville's probably claim to fame at Auburn is that 2004 season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember.
Terry Bowden can make the same claim too.
No, Terry Bowden was on sanctions. That's totally different.
Oh, well, it's the same thing though. He still went winless. I mean that team had heart.
You mean
it made my nerves
winless? No,
who was there in '93?
No, lossless.
I can't even remember.
Oh, let's see. Pat Dye retired in what, like 80?
I'm not talking about Auburn. I'm talking about Alabama. 93.
93. That was the end of
Gene
Stallings.
Shula. I mean, I'm sorry. That was Gene Stallings. Gene Stallings.
So what is it that y'all want to know when Dye?
Stallings left when? Stallings left in 90.
95. Who was there in 95 then?
Was where?
That was 95.
What's the question?
Alabama.
In Alabama.
Oh, Gene Stallings was at Alabama from 90 to 96.
1996.
God, I must be even later then.
Pat Dye retired at Auburn in 1992.
Yeah, and it was kind of a bad situation he retired.
I went to every home game in one of the years. I was in my early 20s, and I can't remember. And I was a drunk. Not that I'm not now, but
was past tense. Yeah,
it's like we lost almost every game I went to, and I was disgusted. And I remember,
Alabama sucked. Alabama sucked for about 8 years.
The fucking 90s were horrible.
Go ahead, guys, get it out of your system.
Get what
they sucked. They sucked for 8 years.
About that long time ago, the Galaxy.
I remember growing up with my very young years, Bear Bryant, and then when he died, my dad decided he's going to be an Auburn fan, and he just switched. I mean, just fucking switched. And
you can't do that.
Yeah, it was
yeah, you
weird.
Can't do that. That's I kind of liked your dad when we started this conversation, and now
and he went crazy on us.
I don't know how to feel about it now.
No, you're talking about Shannon's dad.
Shannon's dad is cool as shit because Shannon's dad's an Alabama fan. He never switched. He didn't switch when Bear Bryant.
No, my dad has never liked LSU. My dad's pretty loyal.
Okay.
Yeah, my family.
I mix my stories
up
there.
I'm gonna be your stepmother because I love your dad now.
Man,
my family are volunteer fans, which is
oh my God.
Yeah. I live in Tennessee, so
man, I'm sorry
it's either volunteer or Roll Tide around here.
Yeah. My brain is not wired.
And
like
you went with Auburn?
I just could not switch.
All right, yeah.
God, this conversation has just been like
it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah,
it's been a roller coaster of emotion.
I feel
we've
like
had laughter, we've had drama.
I'm sad now.
So Shannon, give me a score prediction this weekend. Auburn versus
LSU.
LSU.
Lord, y'all gonna hold me to it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now we're not gonna hold you to it.
Can we do a bet, Shannon?
We can do a bet.
Shannon, let's you and I do a bet. Well,
right,
Amy's on. Hold on, let me get this straight though. Amy is on Facebook fan because I posted a picture of naked Burt Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
So
hot.
From Playgirl.
Very hot.
Yeah, so I'm under Juanita. So whatever kind of bet we make, Juanita will have to.
Dale again.
Yeah,
she stays in Facebook Dale. She's a bad girl.
How about Bob's if Shannon wins and Virginia if Juanita wins?
And that way we all win.
Yeah, look, I don't have a problem showing anything, and everybody knows that. So I don't think Shannon
I'll
has
see
ever
you in my DMs here in just a minute.
Let's do something that everybody's comfortable with.
Facebook Messenger.
Shannon is a classy chick. I'll give her that.
She really. I mean, I've never heard of Shannon being all up in people's.
I curse a lot.
Naked. Yeah, that's all right. We all do that. So
I got a potty now.
What's our bet?
Okay.
Auburn and LSU, and I hate both teams.
Don't make me have to wear an Auburn shirt because I do have a Bama shirt. I don't have no Auburn shirt.
So I say if
that tells us
Walter will send you one slightly soiled.
Yeah.
Ew.
It'll have his essence on it.
All right, y'all pick the bet, and I'll just go with it. I'll agree.
All right, I'm working on my score prediction. Y'all tell me what y'all want me to do if I lose.
Okay.
All right. I kind of like this, yeah.
It's going to be a low-scoring game, I think, though.
I'm just whatever. I'll go with whatever you choose the bet to be. I'll do whatever, so.
Okay. Yeah, but it's Miami. This is Auburn.
I think
that's my boyfriend.
I think the bet is more Shannon's field.
I think we need to see a picture of the boyfriend.
Yeah, let's see that hot man, a piece of man meat.
He's laughing at you the whole time.
Most people do. It's okay. I'm used to that.
Let's see. He's telling me. I don't think that. He's saying 28-21 LSU.
That's pretty good.
I can't vote against my team, but I mean,
no field goals.
You can make a prediction against your team. I mean, again, you get to come on. The winner actually gets to come on next week for a few minutes and gloat about it. It's kind of a new thing we've been doing this year.
I can't gloat because I'm just whatever.
Well, I won't be free next week. So we can postpone it.
We'll just let Tiggy come on in your place.
Yeah, Tiggy.
So if Shannon wins, what does she do? What do I have to do?
Let's see here.
Realistic. I mean, come on.
I'm not like I'm not getting all morbid about it or anything like that. Like you got to cut a finger off or something. Now, if you were a Tennessee fan, I'd probably go that route, but
Well, Oh God, Tennessee.
My
Ooh.
birthday is that weekend, Alabama-Tennessee game.
Really?
I
Yeah,
would love.
I'm going to be in Tennessee. I'm going to be in Knoxville that weekend.
How old are you going to be?
Look, we got to
You're
do
gonna be
this the
what?
week of the
I'm gonna be
LSU Bama game
26.
too.
You're gonna
We're
be-
beating Bama this
You're going to
year.
be 53?
26. Shannon, you're not going to beat Bama this year.
I knew she was
Girl,
listening.
I'm sorry. It's not happening.
I mean,
I'm
not
praying,
unless not
I'm praying,
unless Joe
but I
Burrow.
hear
comes
the
on.
rail.
LSU and Alabama, that is probably my favorite game of the year.
It is a good
that
game.
one's in
It
that
is
one's in Death
always
Valley,
my
is it
favorite
not?
game.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. That's Baton Rouge.
If
And
Bama's
see, I
going to
have
lose,
so
then-
many friends that live there and went to school there. So, I mean, it's a big game for me personally.
Yeah.
That's why it's my favorite. But
It is.
I know
We
it's-
play. I think it's one of the. You know what? The media likes that matchup. For some
it
reason.
really does. I mean, it's always a good game. It's a fun
Why do
game.
they like that? Why do they like it so much? Because I don't know.
I don't know either. But
Well, you know,
I'm
there
glad.
is a little extra bitterness because
They're
Nick
more just our
Saban,
asses
you know, used to be LSU's head
But
coach.
no, because I remember many times that we got our asses whipped, and it's not fun.
No.
So,
Feinbaum, though, Feinbaum is going to ridicule us big time if we lose 8 in a row.
well,
Yeah.
REAUX, right? She's getting it ready.
all right, are we betting on something? I mean,
Yeah, I think we're supposed to be betting on something. What are the stakes?
Yeah,
here?
okay. So, yeah, y'all just tell me, what do I need to do if I lose?
31 to
this week?
27? I know.
Hashtag Family Smack. The worst smack group ever. Look for us on Facebook and on MeWe.
I'd love to see
Whatever.
Juanita in an Auburn
And
outfit.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Shit. Juanita's got, hey, look, I can squeeze
Juanita,
into one of my kids' T-shirts and do it.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Alabama,
great.
Alabama.
That's even better than what I had in mind.
That really is. Yeah.
So Alabama got at least 24.
Just let me know what to do, and I'm there.
Shannon, you don't
Tell
you
me
don't
where to
sound
stand.
you don't sound very decisive.
Yeah,
Shannon. Are you
Shannon's
sure
getting
about this?
advice over there from her
He's
man,
confusing me.
manservant. Yeah.
Yeah, you men are. I'm thinking, he says 28-21 LSU, but I think it's going to be closer to that. I think it's going to be like a 3-point.
But you didn't
like
choose
a
a
field
field.
goal.
Let me tell you a stat that I noticed for LSU is
Who is this talking? Who's
Walter.
talking right
That's
now?
Walter. Walter's talking right now.
LSU is actually 5 for 5 on field goal attempts this
Oh,
year,
yeah.
and at least 2 of them are beyond 50. So there's a good chance there'll be a field goal.
54.
This game.
Yeah, our Australian kicker kicked a 54-yard field goal in the Miami game. So that's
And
why I
Ed-
think we're going to at least win by 3.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you're going up against Nick Cole, Dontavius Russell, Marlon Davidson, and Big Derek Brown. There's no guarantee that you're going to punch it in the end zone very many times.
Well, true. But LSU's front 7.
They're looking good. They are. I heard they're going to move Brumfield to right tackle this week. I hear. And
We got to be quick, though, on y'all's quarterback. I'm hoping we can sack him.
well, that's what I hope doesn't happen.
All you have to do is go watch last year's Clemson game, and that you'll get
Yeah,
a great
Actually,
template of that. Was that 11?
Come on, Shannon,
11
really?
Yeah, we got it. We got to go there with it. Sorry.
That was,
Okay.
But the final score was what, 14-6?
Yeah.
Clemson didn't punch it in very many times.
No, they didn't.
All right. Has Shannon picked a score yet?
Yes, I'm picking a score.
What are you picking?
I'm going to say... What? I don't think it's going to be that. I'll say 28
All right, and that's our podcast, guys. Y'all take it easy now. Have a good
We have not done this. Come on, Shannon, pick
Wait,
something.
All right.
The
All right.
anticipation.
I'll say 31-28 LSU.
31-28
God.
LSU. Go Tigers.
Wow.
So
that's
if
close.
Shannon wins, I have to wear an Auburn outfit. Wait,
Yeah.
what did we decide?
Your child's Auburn outfit that's 4 sizes too small. Yes.
Like 6 sizes too small.
I'm down with that.
So that's what Amy-
that's even better.
Amy's here to be the
Okay.
brunt of the.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do I have to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
Same thing. Everybody.
An Auburn outfit.
You got to
Yeah.
contact Amy and tell her to put her Auburn.
Send you my
shirt
kids outfit.
Y'all gonna make me have to buy an Auburn shirt? Shit, I don't.
No, it may
No,
it may
I
be
can
a
shoot it.
delay, but I'll send you something. Yeah, we'll
Uh,
figure something out. It'll work out.
Walter has to tattoo the LSU logo on his face.
That's not going to happen.
Love that.
That actually
Not
no.
gonna happen.
I think that's good. I feel good about this already.
Walter, we're the real Tigers, boo. That's why.
What's the score going to be, Walter?
How much does a tattoo like that cost, by the way? Can we spring that?
Oh, they're probably giving them away.
Do we have enough in our? Do we have enough in our discretionary fund for such a thing to make that happen?
You can pay down on a tattoo and pay it off in time.
Walter, what is your prediction? I want to hear yours.
Need to find a tattoo guy and pay in weed.
My prediction.
all of them.
My
Yeah,
prediction
you're right.
is actually a low-scoring game.
I think
Also.
so. Yeah.
But, the thing that sticks out to me about LSU the most when I looked, and I don't study LSU, I studied my team, but I looked at them closely before the podcast, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they've only allowed just over 100 yards of offense this year. They are pretty dominant on defense.
Oh, we're very good on defense.
Yeah, 16 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks, 5 turnovers. I mean, they're getting it done on defense. Devin White is probably the best linebacker in the country.
And we've intercepted the ball a few times. Oh yeah, Devin White and our cornerback. We got Christian. No, we got
Grant.
What's his name back?
Grant Delpit has played very well for LSU. He's come on for him early in the year, been a difference maker. But I'm picking 27-20 Auburn. That's my final score.
Okay.
What does Auburn? What does Walter got to do? If
I told you he's going to have to get a tattoo of the LSU logo.
No,
on his face.
nothing permanent.
All right, Walter.
You can pick where on your face you get it tattooed. I mean, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
No, I want a live video for him saying "Go Tigers."
Yeah, that sounds good. Something like that. We're not doing permanent stuff.
That's not right. No, we need to do something permanent. I need to make.
Look, I'm a big.
I think if you're going to make a bet like this, you need to break somebody's soul. You know.
Their soul.
I think a face tattoo. That's soul breaking right there. Every single time you look in the mirror, you're reminded of that one time.
It's gonna be like fucking Mike Tyson.
Well, I will tell you this. I'll share this with you guys. My biggest concern for Auburn this weekend, and I saw it in the Washington game. Jake Browning can put the ball in a small window exactly where it needs to be. They torched us on the outside more than once, and Jamel Dean and Noah Igbenogahine at cornerback for
Say
Auburn.
that again. Say it again. Say it again.
Noah Igbenogahine.
God, I love it.
That concerns me. I don't know if they were playing cautious against Washington and they didn't want to give up a penalty that may change the game, but they got torched a couple times, and the coverage looked pretty loose to me. I hope they've tightened that up. The safeties have been playing well. Javaris Davis is actually probably going to miss this game, and I think he's the most talented person in Auburn secondary. So, but Joe Burrow.
Tell me why.
Joe Burrow.
I have not been keeping up with Auburn, so tell me why he's going to miss the game. What happened?
It's undisclosed. I don't know. It's an injury that's undisclosed. I think it's hamstring-ish, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's an undisclosed injury. He didn't play against Washington either.
Huh. That's
Well,
pretty odd.
actually, I take that back. He did, but I think he left the game against Washington. But anyway, I'm concerned about our secondary. We're going to need a pass rush up front. I don't think Joe Burrow is ready yet to win a big game like this. So hopefully he doesn't torch us.
That may be so. This is going to be the test. This is going to be the test for both teams to see what we're made of this year. I mean, really. And I'm nervous because we're not playing at home. And like I said, Auburn wants revenge for last year, for that loss. But, LSU has a good chance if our defense plays well and our offense has fixed those holes, and we don't make the same amount of mistakes we did in the Miami game. Because like I said, even though we won, I saw a lot of mistakes. We still need to improve on offense. But Burrow is a real deal. I think we need to see more of him and to see what he's made of. And for him to play against real tough defense like Auburn, Georgia, and Alabama.
Oh, he's a tough kid. I think he's a tough kid.
And he's a good quarterback. He's been what I see so far, he's good for LSU. But that's not saying much when you look at the quarterbacks we've had.
No. Yeah. Well, let me tell you a funny story before we go. Last year, following the Troy loss, we were just confident that we were going to beat LSU. I mean, they looked horrible. And so George Stroud, shout out to George. He trolled us all week long, telling us how LSU is going to pull it off, and
I've seen him. Okay.
Yeah,
and we ate crow for a week. As a matter of fact, some of them just vanished in thin air after that game. I haven't seen or heard from them.
George got rather loud after that.
That's what pisses me off about these groups, that you've got these people that are just these loudmouth assholes that are just, whatever their team is, and then they just disappear. And it's like, you can be wrong, you can be stupid, whatever, but stick with it.
Tiggy.
Right, agree.
That's what pisses me off.
Tiggy.
I don't give a shit what you say, but be there.
Sort of.
And that's why I admire Tennessee
Like 4
fans.
weeks
Man,
later.
they went 0-8.
Yeah.
He was actually there the next week.
And
with
they
some
will.
stupid
And
post though, but
Hey, Doug and Shannon, we're trying to have a podcast here. If you don't mind.
Actually, I just found out some incredible news. This is actually breaking news. I just found out that back in the late 60s, John Lennon and Paul McCartney jerked off together. True story. This is actually going around.
Like you didn't know that already. I mean, come on.
That actually kind of cast a really harsher spotlight on Yoko, because Yoko really did get between the two of them.
Yeah, the
she
Beatles
did.
were very
She was a
straight there.
whore.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Walter, can you shoot a LSU hat on Benjamin Franklin there?
Hey, let me say this real quick.
I can't.
Guys, Shannon, Russell, and I have always been kind of nana back and forth. But I think we can both say, and I hope I'm not wrong, that we respect each other.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon is batshit crazy, but so am I, and we kind of recognize that. And we are both
my
very
brother wants to know
passionate.
how you know me like that.
Say
If
that
you're
again.
root-
Do what?
If you're
I
rooting
mean,
for,
how you know me like that.
Well, I mean,
packing Alabama, bitch.
Yeah,
If Amy calls you batshit crazy, that's kind of that's quite a compliment.
that's a term of endearment.
Yeah.
Where I'm
maybe a little.
Pot.
Shannon and I think we just kind of have.
I
come
joke
to-
a lot, though. I really do.
Yeah, and I'm just that personality. I want to be like, just shut the fuck up, take it, And I think we kind of just get that we are who we are, and I think we kind of see where everybody else. Like there was some kind of thread a while back, and everybody's just on Shannon's ass, and I'm like, well, that's just kind of how Shannon is,
I can relate. I can
Well,
definitely
yeah,
relate.
and I asked for it. I mean, people know my name, but it's not always for a good reason. But
I think I actually tagged Shannon in that thread. I didn't know.
I think that's my
what would
point. And I
transpire.
just didn't make it well. Is that Shannon, at least, she is consistent. She knows her team, and she does know football, and she is in there talking it.
Yeah, she stands up to it. No doubt.
Right. That's the thing, and that's what I respect.
Yeah, can we please quit kissing each other's ass and go back to the hate now?
Well,
I need to hear some
because
more.
not enough girls are that
motherfucker.
way. Not enough girls
Amy.
actually know football and like football and stand up for their team.
That's true.
This is now.
And
This is
I
about
think
a
that
Me
it's
Too
cool that
thing.
Shannon
We're
does.
having a Me Too moment here
Amy.
on Smacking.
Well, if it
Yeah,
makes you
but
feel any,
wait,
if it makes
now, fuck you, Shannon. Fuck your team. How about that?
if it makes you feel any better,
That's better.
If it makes you feel any better, I fap to both of you, honestly. So I mean,
You fap to
I hope
everybody.
because I did the same to y'all. So
are y'all? Wait, I got one question though for the Bama fans. Are y'all gonna be mad if we lose to Auburn but beat Bama?
that's not happening.
Nah, that ain't gonna happen.
yeah, they're going to be mad every time they lose.
Nah,
It's
not
really, I will. I'm not gonna lie. I am a fan.
I heard we lost to Auburn last
hate
year, but I still have yet to see the game.
Walter, it's an amazing thing, but actually, we get more clicks on the podcast after Alabama loses.
Yeah.
We always have.
We really do. So we actually but we don't.
I mean, we've only had the
It's
one
been a
loss.
long
but
time.
Yeah, we've got to. It's got to be a healthy balance. I mean, we can get a bump for like 1 or 2 episodes, but I just if we do like 4 weeks in a row, I think I'll kill myself.
Amy, you get a free one here. You get to pick on this game, and there's no consequences.
Yeah, no consequences for you. No face tattoo
I
for
thought
you.
I had a consequence.
Yeah,
She's got a
but
bet.
not for you.
Yeah,
It's for her.
Yeah. Do you want?
What?
I
I'm
got
so
one question,
confused.
though.
You want consequences? I like this.
I like
Listen,
consequences.
if you want to squeeze in,
Punish me,
one
Daddy.
of your son's T-shirts, I'm fine with
Yeah.
it.
All right, I'll send it just to you, Walter. How about that?
I want a copy too, actually. Walter, send it. If she doesn't send it to me, Walter, hook a brother up, all right?
All right.
How's this game going down, Amy?
Yeah, tell us about it, Amy.
Which game?
This game,
LSU
Auburn, silly.
I hate it, but I'm thinking it's going to be Auburn. I'm not even going to try to pick scores. I hate it, but I think Auburn's going to win this week.
I think it's going to be a decisive win, 28-10.
Wow.
I
really
28-10. It'll be closer. It'll be a lot closer than that.
Auburn's got revenge on their mind, and they're balling right now, playing great on both sides of the ball. LSU is too. I could be absolutely, totally dead wrong, and it could come down to the wire, like we've heard from your predictions. But I don't know. I got a sneaking suspicion that Gus Malzahn's really under some pressure to.
Fucking Gus! Does it make anybody else sick how he just looks? I mean, just how he stands on the sideline and with his fingers up his nose the whole time. I mean, just goddamn! I need him to act a little more professional.
That's probably one of the greatest things that's ever been said on the show ever. I know I say that every week, but I really that one's going to have to burrow its way into the intro. No two ways around it.
All right, the gym teacher. The gym teacher, as he's known.
Yeah,
we're going to bed. We're going to bed. We're going to let y'all keep talking.
We're going to break this down, but guys, we really appreciate having all three of you on the show. This has been fun. We need to do this again.
This has been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. We'll do it again if Shannon will show her face after this loss.
I'm down.
She will.
She'll be back. She'll be back.
She will.
Okay.
All right. Good night, guys.
Night, guys.
Please subscribe to our channel by clicking the small smacking off icon at the top of the screen now. Click the link at the bottom of the screen to watch last week's episode.